This is actually my second time recording this because my mic decided to not connect and record the audio, so it was just me. But I'm actually glad it didn't record the first time because it's been a very emotional time, especially changing a coach 5 weeks out is a big deal. Like, that's kind of crazy. And it was a really tough decision. And I know when I recorded this the first time, I was really frustrated with the whole situation. And, you know, I want to be very careful with my words because I do have a lot of respect for my past coach, and I don't want this to be a big thing. Unfortunately, with social media, like, this impacts my everyday life and my relationships with people I care about. And the point of this channel is to document my journey, and this was a very significant part of my journey. I don't want to discredit this coach for the impact that he has had, because I would not be at this point. I would not be recording this if it weren't for him. He provided a lot of emotional support, and I've trained harder than I've ever trained before with him. But again, it was a very difficult decision, but I was very concerned with my overall well-being, and so I decided to reach out to a new coach who kind of specializes more with female hormones and how that works. I'm natural, so it's not like, you know, these are super drastic effects, but still pretty significant when you're in this, you know, sustained deficit for such a prolonged period of time. So I wasn't allowed to add any salt to my food, and my water was at below a gallon, just below a gallon, very far out, like way further out than it should have even been touched. And like, in general, you don't need to be doing that. And a basic Google search could have told me that. I think it was around week 12, week 13. If you look back in my what I eat in a days, that'll tell you, you know, when I started cutting out salt. But yeah, I mean, my body responded okay at first because it was dropping water weight, obviously. And then I started getting extreme fatigue, and it felt like I was gonna pass out every time I stood up, which are generally normal prep symptoms. The feeling like you need to pass out every single time you stand up is an extreme for how far out I was experiencing that. So that should have been something that was like, you know, I should have paid attention to more. But my coach validated the symptoms, again, kind of aligning with general normal prep symptoms, but I digress. So then I had a trip to Miami for work around 7 to 8 weeks out. And no changes were made to my food, nothing. So I'm still at less than a gallon of water, no salt, and I'm in Miami sitting in the sun for hours upon hours. It was really difficult because my mind was so fixated on food. It was like a constant fight to feel normal and to not overly fixate on any food that was in the same room as me. And it's so crazy because now I feel regulated and like I have self-control, and my body's not trying to tweak and freak out in order to regulate me, like, you know, binge so that I'm regulated. In addition to no salt and low water, I also had a high intensity stair climber workout after my workouts, and I'm also lifting 6 times a week, doing that 6 times a week, and fasted cardio 6 times a week, and sauna time 6 times a week. And he had me doing all these old school things that are outdated, like Bengay and sweet sweat on my waist with saran wrap and a waist trainer, and fully sweated up. So I was sweating insane amounts. It was too much in terms of cortisol levels, and so I'm gonna go into kind of the timeline of symptoms and my binging experience over the past like 6 weeks. So again, 7 to 8 weeks out-ish, that's when I went to Miami. I come back and I crash. Like, I eat one rice cake and I binged the entire thing. It was like I blacked out and had it. And those of you who relate to the binging struggles know that that's a very tough thing to experience when you feel like you have no self-control. And so I knew something was funky, and I was like, I didn't even crave the food. It was just the salt in the rice cakes, these lightly salted rice cakes. And I told my coach, and he was like, it's okay, just, it's a new day, right? I was starting to get the cortisol eye twitch, which, you know, I get that when I get high cortisol levels. So then my body responded by cheating with salt flakes, like Maldon salt flakes. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And he was like, stop. And I was like, dude, my body's craving salt so badly. Like, I don't think something's right. And then I got my period for the second time that month. And the period the second time that month, that's when I knew. Because for me, in a deficit, I should be losing my period. If I'm getting it a second time, that is an extremely high cortisol response. Something that I've learned about my body with my experience with these cutting and bulking phases. So then the symptoms start to get worse. And I didn't tell my coach this because I had lost trust. And I also found out he had not put a woman on stage before. And I'm not sure if he's ever put anybody on stage before. That's, again, I digress. That's besides the point at this point. Again, I would not be as far as I am into this prep if it were not for him and the emotional support that he has provided. I really, really have pushed myself. I wish I didn't push myself as hard as I did, because now I'm having to deal with high cortisol levels for the rest of this prep that are pretty significant. But life has a funny way of working itself out, so it's just a big learning process. And then started experiencing heart palpitations on the stair climber. And I cannot express to you how bad that mental fatigue was. Like, it genuinely felt like the thoughts in my brain could not connect. And like, knowing that I had such a shitty month and it really brought me back to a depressive state, like deep pit in my heart opened up, depressive state. And I've done so much work to get out of that place. The years upon years of trauma that I've experienced and the years upon years that I've done the work to get out of that place, like, to know that I had no need to experience that the way that I did is very frustrating for me. Like, it was really a dark place. I could not get my work done. It was so stressful and creating so much anxiety. And my lifts felt like shit. Luckily, I had my coach a couple times a week in person to keep pushing me, but like, I was losing activation in my lifts, which is dangerous in and of itself, right? Like, if you're not activating the appropriate muscles you're trying to target when you're doing the lift, that's an invitation for injury. My friend also commented about how sickly I looked. Like, I felt like the color yellow. Like, I felt sick before, I went on this binge, like very sick. So I'm experiencing the heart palpitations, I'm feeling sick, and my friend points out that one of my pupils is dilated while the other is not. Like, that was a recipe for disaster, and it makes me scared. Like, if I had done that a couple weeks longer, like, what could have happened with that? So now let's talk about the timeline of binge. So first I had the rice cakes post-Miami, then it became salt flakes a week later, and then after that, it was another sleeve of rice cakes, and I just like blew through the whole thing. I felt like shit. Like, it was so hard on the mental headspace. I felt like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do this lifestyle. I'm gonna keep trying. Next day, it's my flavored almonds. Like, I had these chocolate almonds that meet my macros, and I just like ate the entire thing of it. So it was like 5 servings of almonds over the daily amount that I was supposed to be eating. Which you can't be doing that 5.5 weeks out. And then the third day I went to Publix, and of course they had buy one, get one for flavored pistachios. And I was like, well, I'm gonna get them. This is perfect. I just ate all of them yesterday, knowing in the back of my head there was a good chance that, I might not have self-control. So I come back, and I ate 12 servings. 12 servings of pistachios in one sitting. They had 200 milligrams of sodium in each serving, about 170 calories a serving. So having over 2 grams of salt in one sitting, that's a lot. Like, my body was freaking out, and it took me to a really dark place. I was laying in my bed, and I was just like, I'm not ready. Like, I can't do this. Like, I had a binge that stopped me from being able to prep last year, and like, that kept happening, and I was like, that's it. Like, I tried, but this isn't for me. And I'm sitting in my bed and just like feeling so shitty and in such a dark place. And I get a text from my sister, and it's a picture of her plane tickets, right? Like, all of my family's in Virginia. I moved here like a year ago. This is my first year living in Florida. And she sent me a picture of the plane tickets because she was going to come see my show. And I went, fuck, like, I can't give up now. Like, my family is coming. They've just all bought plane tickets to come see me. Like, what the actual heck? They knew how much I cared about this. Like, this is one of the hardest things I've done in my entire life, and it has challenged me to my absolute core. And so, you know, I didn't want to show my body. I had such extreme body dysmorphia, right? Because my weight spiked too, and I was up at 151, and before that was like teetering between 146, 148. And I just had so much water on my body, and it's like you can't even see the definition. It's like it felt like I had just destroyed all of the progress I had made. And I had to take a moment to remind myself of like why I'm doing this journey. Right, the shame that comes up with, you know, not being perfect and the feeling like I need to isolate and hide my body. I want to release that. Like, that is one of the biggest parts of this journey, is accepting that those imperfections and moving through it and working through it. You know, wiping the dust off your feet and getting back up and going again. And, you know, I open social media and I have all of these messages, right? Like, I can't even keep up with everything because I'm so overwhelmed. And prep is like a full-time job. And on top of that, I'm a small business owner. And doing social media, like, I do a lot. Like, I don't have any free time. I have ghosted all of my friends, and, you know, luckily my good friends understand, you know, I'm going through a lot right now. And to open Instagram and have all of these messages, and YouTube as well, of you guys saying that I inspire you, and hop on these coaching interest calls, and you guys relate to my shtick and, like, talk to me in a way that I can, like, hear that you've watched my YouTube videos and you've listened to me talk, and that you relate in some of my struggles. It is the most fulfilling experience, and, you know, I'm so thankful for the support. You guys really don't know how much it means. So now I'm going to go over the key differences with my new coach in terms of training protocol and food versus my old coach. So diet-wise, previously it was high fat. It was like 55, 60 grams fat, 95 grams carb, and I think like about 120, 140 grams protein. Macros are totally flipped. So like the big goal of my plan with her is to address electrolytes and cortisol levels. Only working with her for a few days, I dropped down to 142. And like I came back up for a couple pounds because I was getting low sleep. But to go from 151 to 142 in less than a week, insane. Now I'm at 123 grams of carbs, low fat, 34 grams, and 150 grams of protein. I feel significantly better. The way that the food is lined up is just less restrictive, and I feel like I'm incorporating more in. It makes me feel better overall. If you want to see what I eat in a day, I actually recorded what I eat in a day for 5 weeks out, and I'm going to post that next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so check that out. Water, before was less than a gallon of water. Now it's 1.5 gallons in a water. I'm chugging that shit. No salt to my food, a 4th teaspoon of salt with every single meal. That's 5 times of eating. That's a whole gram of salt extra per day. I feel so much better. Like, it feels so good to feel regulated and to feel like the thoughts in my brain are connecting. I'm still super low energy. I'm eating 1,346 calories to the diet every day, but I'm regulated. Next key difference is cardio. So I had the HIIT workout with fasted cardio as well, versus now it's longer duration, but low intensity. It's like above 120 for heart rate, just steady state cardio. I got 45 minutes fasted in the morning and 40 minutes post-workout, still lifting 6 times a week. I feel a million times better. Like, again, I feel low energy still, but I feel like I'm getting some of the best workouts of my life, and like my body's just responding so well. Weight is shedding off. I actually, as I'm recording this on Monday, I hit my newest low at 140.8 pounds. So my body's responding exactly how we want it to, and that's a great thing. So what I've learned in this process and what you might be able to take away from this, so all of these different factors are various stressors, and your body can only handle so much before the cortisol levels just spike out of control, and your body is going to be more likely to binge and to fall off track to stop those stressors from continuing to affect your body. So lack of sleep is going to impact that. Limiting water, limiting salt, limiting your calories, and being in an extreme deficit for a sustained period of time is going to be a huge stressor in and of itself on your body. Cardio is a huge stressor. I'm hoping you understand the point. You can only do so much, and you have to watch those symptoms to see how your body is responding in terms of cortisol, because we don't want to fall off track. So when I'm coaching people, I am asking about how their stress is, because when they are in a high stress work environment and they're already getting low sleep, we got to be careful on those variables. We have to make sure you take care of yourself so that you can show up to do the work, and that we're not overly exerting the body, and we're not creating too many stressors to the point that the body just is like, fuck it. So learning this firsthand and understanding in the scope of binging, which is something that I've struggled with for a while, very big learning experience, and it makes me feel more in control understanding that, and especially experiencing the difference in how it feels with salt, water, macros, and cardio. Completely different setup, and it's a world of difference. Like, this makes this cut almost easy, which it's not. I'm just saying the past month was one of the worst months of my entire life, and it had no reason to be. So after experiencing that, the rest of this prep is like, I got 4 weeks left of it as I'm recording this, just taking everything one day at a time. I really don't want to discredit my past coach with this video, but I'm hoping that this video kind of gives you an idea of how the body actually responds to some of these various stimuli. For some people, that kind of protocol could work perfectly, but it was not working for my body. And that's why everybody's prep is different too. So, you know, having that breakdown moment and realizing I needed to change coaches 5 weeks out was terrifying. And I'm just thankful that the coach that I am working with now has been so supportive. She wrote my programming that day when I reached out to her, and we got started the next day. So it was really a peace of mind to be able to get back up and get going again. And for those of you who know me in real life and are watching this, I'm really hoping that you cannot make this a big drama kind of thing, and understand the intent behind this video, right? Because social media impacts my everyday life, and for once, I just want to be able to breathe. This is a pretty crucial component of my journey, hence why I'm sharing it. And I just really hope that you can understand that and maybe provide a little bit of empathy. But I really, 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 really appreciate you guys always and the constant support. Again, like when I say it means the world, I mean it. It really helped me pull myself out of that low, especially knowing that, you know, you guys are watching this journey and you guys have my back, so thank you. Next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'll be posting a what I eat in a day 5 weeks out. Stay tuned to learn, you know, how my food looks different with this new coach's programming. But I really appreciate you guys. Leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you want to see anything in particular. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for watching.